So this is a pair of shoes I had to get my hands on. I knew I was gonna get them no matter what. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Sneaker Circle. It is your boy Danny back with another video. In today's video, I am reviewing the second part of the Air Jordan 3 / J Balvin collaboration. So this is the second version of the model. He does have a pair that released last year. That pair did make it onto my top 10 list, if I'm not mistaken. I really enjoyed the pair from last year, and I had very high hopes for this black pair this year. Luckily for me, I was able to hit these for retail off of sneakers, so $250 plus tax. It's still pretty high, technically. I'm just glad I didn't really have to spend any resale on it, because that's currently out of my budget. So before we get into anything, I just wanted to stop and say thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for checking out the channel. If you're new, please feel free to drop a comment, like the video, subscribe to the channel. It helps in any way, shape, or form possible. If you don't know who I am just a hobbyist. I like collecting sneakers, have been since 2007, and I'm just doing these reviews for me. All right, so let's just get straight into them and get these out the box. All right, so out of the box, a pretty tough sneaker to just put out there just to start the video with. So officially dubbed the Rios, this is J Balvin's second installment of a pair of Air Jordan 3s. Last year we did see the Medellin sunsets, completely inspired by the sun setting in Medellin, his hometown, which honestly, he did a fantastic job. I have them right here. He did a fantastic job with these. Honestly, one of my favorite releases or collaborations from last year. These, I had conflicting feelings about because the initial leaks for this shoe were so good. It was, I think, him wearing them to a specific tournament. So J Balvin had them on. They had a lighter elephant print. It looked really like, it really popped. And these themselves pop as well in their own way. I don't know. I felt like darkening the elephant print wasn't the best move because all the photos that I would see had them insanely just dark, very, very dark and kind of glossy. So I thought it was gonna have a sheen to it. I didn't think it was gonna be the same type of leather that they used on the Medellins from last year. But now that I have them in hand, I do see it was just pictures were bad. Trusted these in hand. I know I say it on a couple sneakers, but these in hand are beautiful. So I'm gonna say in person, this shade of black isn't as glossy. It doesn't have much of a sheen to it. It's very dark in person. And I'm not gonna lie, I really like that because normally when you think of Air Jordan 3s, especially if you're big on black cements, they always have this shininess to them, this sheen to them that I wasn't really the biggest fan of. I mean, don't get me wrong, black cements are one of my favorite colorways that ever exist. This makes me think, man, how much would I like black cements if they didn't have that characteristic to it? So in a lot of product shots, you usually see a deep dark, just black, glossy black, and it has everything on the shoe kind of black alongside with it. But in person, you can kind of see how just different those materials are. This is still a dark gray, but I'm gonna try to get it as close to what I'm seeing in person as I can. This contrasts the dark leather on the uppers so nice. It's a nice touch. I'm not gonna be incredibly upset about the switch from that original lighter gray elephant print to this one, because I do think it's a nice touch. Finishing off the review for the sneakers, before I get into comparisons and before I get into basically release details, because honestly, this was a crazy release in terms of power protection and stuff like that. Getting into the sneakers, you do have a pretty good shape when it comes to Air Jordan 3s. Like for some reason, I was looking at these outside the box yesterday when I got them, and they just held such a nice shape to them. Like they have such a slender toe box. I don't know, I keep seeing like the leaked pictures of the Amamaniers. I see my personal white cements, and I feel like these just have such a nice profile to them, and I don't know if they've necessarily changed anything. I think it's just the same. I think it's more of like they're new, they haven't been worn in yet, so there's that. Mentioning that elephant print, I'm gonna get as close as I can. We do have this nice dark gray cement when it comes to it. It is just everywhere alongside. And then looking at the back as well, you have that dark cement. It's pretty consistent between my pairs. I know that's something that's not common with a lot of, I guess, Air Jordan 3s. It was a big flaw for white cements, where those patterns wouldn't be, like the consistency, the quality control wasn't always the best. my pair specifically, and almost all pairs I've seen online, are really consistent. I feel like these were definitely focused on a little more. The leather itself is pretty nice. It has a nice bounce to it. It's exactly like the pair from last year. I don't think they changed much. But one thing I will say they changed is on the elephant print itself. On most Air Jordan 3s, it's kind of rough because it's just a burned in material. It's not, I guess, necessarily meant to be nice. But for some reason on these, it has like a brushable aspect to it. So whatever they decided to do with this, I'm gonna try to get that on camera. It's actually pretty crazy. I actually really like that more than I like the pair from last year, because I feel like the quality here is just a touch better. Going back to the brighter portions of the shoe, starting with this sole, because it's the one part you haven't really seen yet. So you do have this translucent orange sole. These don't necessarily have that sunset and sunrise detailing the way the pair from last year do, because last year it was really supposed to signify the sunset and the fading of the sky, which is why those gradients are very important. The gradients on these are exactly the same. So deep purple to that red hue to that yellow. It's just how the sky looks in that area of Colombia. You have this yellow Jumpman on the tongue as well. This was also pretty consistent with the pair from last year. So most of the key details, so the gradient, the back tab, all of it's the same as last year, which makes it feel like this is a pack, which realistically it is. But one's involving the sunset and one is named after his son, Rio. So you do have his smiley face insignia that you see on the box as well. It's his lightning bolts smiley face. You have that on the right shoe. And then an interesting little detail that I didn't notice on the pair from last year, but this pair made me notice it. You do have the Nike Air right here. I'll try to get it into focus as well, where the eye is one of the lightning bolts as well. Overall, I think it's a pretty solid shoe. You do get these red laces, red wax laces that I absolutely will not touch, and on the underside of the tongue you do get that bright orange, very similar to what you see on the sole on the side right here. It's a pretty cool detail. Speaking of similarities, besides all these little gradient details, you do have the same exact box we saw on the pair from last year. So it's a sleeved box. It has this purple main box. Right here you have a quote in both Spanish and English. Give you a little second to read it if you want to read it. Interesting little note is that on the English translation, they opted out Medellin for some reason. So in the English, it's just a sunset always reminds me, versus in Espanol, a sunset in Medellin. So I don't know why they did that. I don't know why they did that. Besides that, you still have the gradient from here. So you have the bright smiley face, the yellow, the red, and then overall here. And then you have an elephant print on the box itself. And I personally thought this little detail was super dope that I had to mention it in my video. The box sleeve actually has this picture of Colombia, of Medellin specifically. I'm not going to be able to get it too well. I'll try my best to show you guys. But once you put in the box the correct way, his smiley face actually becomes the sun. All right, so that's the overall review of the shoe, review the box. So there's some details I really wanted to touch. Now I did want to slightly get into a comparison. So when we're talking about V1 versus V2, I guess you can kind of talk to them that way. I don't know if it's because I've worn these already a couple of times, or if it is a different material, like a different leather. This pair, the white pair, feels just a tad more tumbled, while this black pair isn't as tumbled, but we can see how that looks with wear. And the white pair did such a fantastic job at kind of imitating not a pure white. So it has little details that I wish this pair had. So on the edging of the white pair, you do see like this streak of yellow, kind of like what you see in a lot of aged sneakers nowadays, or the forced aged sneakers, might I say. It's something that I kind of wish they did on this pair, even if it was just like a gray piping throughout, and it would have just matched a little bit better for the cement print. The cement print on this is also this like beige bone off-white, and I will say the smiley face is easier to see on the white pair than it is the black pair in my opinion. Also for the black pair, they give you these little tabs to protect. I don't really know what it's for, but I think it's fine. Speaking of pull tabs, they're exactly the same. Like I mentioned earlier, same gradient throughout, same gradient throughout. Tongue is even the same on both. It's pretty all right. The bottom of this one is just clear and translucent. As you can see, it's pretty dirty, so I'm gonna have to clean the table afterwards, but it is what it is. It's probably gonna be the same case situation where you have the same Nike Air, but it does have that lightning bolt where the eye is. Same everything realistically. I don't have the tag on the white pair, but on the black pair, you do have the J Balvin smiley face as well. Overall, I do think this is a really good collaboration, a good effort from J Balvin and Jordan Brand, considering like his other projects are very colorful, very in your face. These two specifically are very wearable. The one thing that is kind of off-putting to me is having these in front of me really reminds me of Ama Manier's Dusk and Dawn pairs. So it really feels like this should have been like dusk and this should have been dawn. It deals with those sunsets, it deals with sunrises, etc. Let me get those real quick to show you what I mean. So when you look at the Ama Manier pair from last year as well, you do have this consistent theme of this is sunrise, this is sunset. I really do wonder if Jordan Brand kind of wanted to stay away from another dusk and dawn related release. So they just did Meijin Sunset, which is big in J Balvin's life. And then he just decided to name the second pair after his son. I do think someone on Jordan Brand's team was definitely cooking, because this right here, these two are, it's a good set. The black pair from this set is probably one of my favorites. I love black metallic colorways, black metallic themed Air Jordan 5s. And these aren't anything to laugh at as well, but you can kind of see how it follows that same brand of not being a true white. So this is more of like a grayish white, and this is more of like a bone off-white. It's supposed to signify sky, and I have seen the sky like this at some points, where it has more of a warm yellow hue. So very last thing I really did want to touch on is the bot protection that was used on this sneaker. So when these released last year, there was a big conundrum or a big issue with the release for the early access. It was promised to a lot of people from his site. Apparently it released early, it was open to everybody, and bots just ate them up. No big surprise if you've been in the sneaker world long enough. But for these, he did do something a little bit different. He did release alien themed merch based on, I think, his world tour right now. And if you spent $100, you could have had access to get these early. Now, in my opinion, it would have been easy to spend $100. You could have bought like 2 t-shirts, you could have bought a hoodie, but then you got to think all in cost would have been minimum $350 to maximum probably $400. But if you did decide to buy merch because you just wanted the merch or you liked the merch, I was very close, but the hoodie sold out. You would have been one of the people that had access to these. Now, the access was strange. The day before the sneakers release, you did have basically an email with coupon code, code to get into the site as well, and it leaked. So the J Balvin team put this on their site, and you had to have those 2 prerequisites to actually get them. Now, you could have the code to get into the website itself, so the password, add these to cart, but you would have been faced with a shoe that cost $25,000. So yes, he listed these, or his team listed these for $25,000. And the second part of the whole release is that you had to add the coupon code to make them $250. Now, it wasn't said anywhere, but the coupon codes, from what I've seen and from what I experienced during the release itself, were associated with the emails that actually got access to that pre-release. So you were in luck. If you did have an email that was picked because you spent $100 on the site, the coupon code would have worked for you. I think there was like 2 or 3 variations that were just floating around. Again, I think you had to have an email, or you needed to check out with an email that was associated with that code. If not, it would have just aired out once you tried to check out and said that the limit has been reached. But the bot protection really comes in when you think about all the bots that managed to get in through the first initial password setup. Added these to cart, did not have a coupon code, but because I don't think a lot of bots are actually suited to add coupon codes, and they ended up checking out a pair for $25,000. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't think this is a $25,000 pair right here. Even at current resale of like $400 or $500, it's still pretty up there. But those are going to be orders that have to be canceled. Those are beginning with orders that aren't fulfilled. And at the end of the day, if someone decides not to cancel, I guess it's a win on J Balvin's team, because that's like 1 pair of shoes for 25K. So that's basically the release. Before I throw these on toe, my final thoughts. An overall release, pretty well. The execution is just as good as the first pair, in my opinion. I don't think these are necessarily better. I just like the white pair a little bit more. But this is a pair that's gonna be worn throughout the rest of the summer, because these are fantastic. So again, if you made it this far, thank you for checking me out. Thank you for just spending time on the channel. I will see you guys in the next one. I'm gonna throw these on feet. Please feel free to sub if you're new. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.